Alright, today we're going to be breaking down an attempt at emulating one of my favorite artists, John Bellion. By the end of the video, you're going to be learning how to make something that sounds like this. Alright, this song is primarily made in Serum today. We have a few transition effects here. A lot of somatics drum sounds from different packs. We're going to start off with the funk guitar synth though, which if I open up my instance of Serum, it is actually just an FGP guitar funk muted from Splice. Now the chords are going to end up being A minor, G major, C major, I believe G major again, then F major, and then we're going to stay on that, and then it's going to repeat. It's going to sound like this. And a lot of the sound is actually going to come from blaring. Right here, I have my bottle keys, which is also a Serum patch from Splice. I can show you the exact instance actually, just so that you know what to look for. It's FGP keys bottles. And we're using this to add a lot of depth, a lot of punch to it. And we're smoothing it out with an E-piano. Adds a lot of nice low mid, because the original organ is mostly high mid and treble. So when we add those together and start to slowly layer them in, we're getting much more of a full presence. If you're feeling a sort of build up of momentum, at the same time, I don't want the build up to just be the layering. So right after this first build-up, first repetition, we're going to add the drums in right away, kick, snare, and hi-hats. These are going to be the same throughout the entire track. We have little parts where we cut out like that. We have some transitions. Simple reverse and regular crashes. This is from the Future Bass sample pack from Somatics. It's free. If you go to the website, they have tons of free sample packs. I highly recommend checking them out. I believe they're even doing VSTs right now. I think they're responsible for the Diablo VST and a few others. Absolutely great company. Love them. So with this, we're going to add some more high end now with some bells. And we're going to add some brass hits and 808s. By themselves, sounds like this. Everything is being panned, by the way, left, right. The only one that isn't being panned is the intro one. I try to stay between 45% and 100% depending on the pans, left or right. This, since it's more of a bassy impact, I keep down the center. Same thing with the 808s, of course. This is also a Somatics 808. If I look right here, it's an Empire. So it's from the Empire Hip Hop pack. And then we have a 80s synth brass, which is standard with Serum. It's just a regular patch that comes with. It's in the synth section. So far, this is the sound that we have, right? And then I take basically the progression we're already using, but I pull down the root note, and then I take the third, and then I push that up an octave just so that it has a different energy to it, because if you're layering, when you do inversions like this, it's actually going to bring a lot more energy than if you just kept doing the layering. And especially with strings, I love to have a more open sound to them like that, where everything's very spread out through the octaves. So when you get the transition like that, it comes in, cuts out, and adds a lot of energy. Alright, next up on the transitions, we have another, this one is from the EDM Odyssey sample pack off Somatics. One of my favorite cymbals. I use this one a lot in general. Our next thing, we have some dirty keys, which I will show you that real quick. Everything is in C major, A minor today, by the way. The serum patch is right here, Synth Crappy Keys, GI. I forget if that is off of Splice or if that is a regular instance. Coming up next, we have a whistle lead that's absolutely off of Splice. I'm going to actually bring this one up so you can read it better. It's the Kara Serum Lead Whistle 01. One of my favorites. It has a very spacey vibe to it. I'll show those together right now. And they're sort of doing a back and forth. One will take 2 bars or something like that, or 4 bars, and the other will take another 4 bars. And this is just adding a more upbeat feel to it. We want to keep the energy going throughout each hook. I want to add something new to it. And on the final hook, we actually have a few different risers, all from Somatics. We got the Future Bass White Noise Up, which I actually use as a downer as well. Somatics Future Bass Riser 2. Odyssey Crash once again. And then I also add in, right here we have a reverse clap. And this sort of fill, a little bit syncopated, that just adds to it all. And a clap for the last hook. You'll also notice this dirty bass instance, which, let's see, is this serum patch right here. It's going to be the BS Flangy Growl Hit. It's a virtual riot sound. Absolutely amazing. Very gritty, which I like. And then I have a lot of pre-delay on this Pro R reverb. And I use a vocal sample from one of the Somatics packs, which, let's see which one it is. It's the San Holo free vocal melody pack, and I just add this in for like an extra layer that just really brings in a ton of energy for the last hook. So I only do one slight difference at the end of this, which sort of solidifies it into A minor at the end. I just end it on an A note by itself. And I'm using that with, let's see, which one was this? The bottle keys. So it has this sort of slide sound at the end. It slides up the note, which I think is a really good ender. It's just naturally done. I didn't have to adjust anything. One of the last things we're going to go over are the drums and some of the mixing. Now, the drums themselves, I only put the kick sort of on the chord changes, and keep it really simple. Now, the snares, I actually am going to be doing a lot of velocity changes. There's actually two things. So we have this one right here, and then this one right here. And I'm doing just sort of a marching snare rhythm just to give it a little more bounce. The kick stays very much static. Now, if I can find it, because my mixer is actually much more of a mess than than my playlist, but I'm using a little bit of phaser on my hi-hat, some Pan Man that is set to more the middle, not a lot of width, and a little decapitator just to give it a lot of energy. We're putting decapitator on the kick too, which sounds like this without it, which that's a fine kick, but I want it to have a bit of crunchiness to it, a different sound, and a little decapitator on the snare too, because this is how it sounds without it. But I wanted some sort of extra high end to it, which I think the decapitator brings to it. We even have a little bit of FabFilter microshift, just a little bit of Pro MB, which is actually just going to be, or sorry, I think this is Sound Toys. Sound Toys microshift. Then we have the FabFilter Pro MB. It's just doing a little bit of automation, just to keep the clarity to all the synths together. I'm putting a little bit of decapitator on it. People like AJR love to do this. It seems like with a lot of their sounds, just to glue everything together. I believe they used it on Sober Up when they were putting all the different guitar parts together. It adds a little bit of crunch and a little bit of pull together. Like, see, this is kind of weak in my opinion. Like, it's good, but with the decapitator, it feels like so much fuller, which I think is very important. We have a little bit of Pan Man on a few different things. Just, again, I like to give things a little of their own space. Right here, we have a little bit of Pro R. I keep my mix very low, usually under 15%. Sometimes only 5%. I actually like the opening space. Most of the time, 2.5 works for me. Other times, I'll put it up to even 4 seconds. For some drums, I keep it to half a second. I always keep my reverbs pretty dark. And very simple mixing, honestly. Right here, I believe this is... Yes, this is the melody. Right here, if you look down at the pre-delay, I have 39 milliseconds on the higher end, 3.34 for the amount of space that we have. And for this, I actually pitched down this laser percussion, I believe, down an octave, just because it was too MIDI, and I wanted it to be a little punchier, a little more thumpy. So we put just a little bit of reverb on it. This one's a little higher on the reverb setting than the others. 18% mix, keeping it very simple, right down the middle for dark bright, just to add a little extra. I was actually experimenting with using the Elenium Good Things Fall Apart studio acapella earlier, just to make sure that, you know, it fits the vibe of John Bellion's vocals, and I found it absolutely does. And then my typical mastering chain, I just go in with Clear Master RMS. I make sure that my linear phase setting is on, which I love this new setting for FL Studio. The newest update, you know, it's been a lot of help with keeping everything in line. I put the mids just slightly more stereo and the low end more mono. I keep it very simple with that. Sometimes, um, the only time I really do anything that more than using a simple sort of gluing compressor on my mastering chain is when I want to do something more experimental or I want to resample my whole song. Sometimes I'll put, crazy effects on the end of the chain. But unless I'm going to be doing something that's like really going to stand out for the whole track, I prefer to just keep my mastering setup simple. Um, because I feel like when you get into a lot of the subtleties, it doesn't matter as much. Like it's the big things that people are going to hear and remember. Like you want to do your you know your level automation. You want to keep things quieter during the verses, louder during the hooks. So sometimes I'll throw in a mastering thing. I'll keep the limiter down to -3 dB, pull it up to 0 for the hooks. But otherwise, there's not much point in focusing on mastering like crazy. As long as it's loud enough for when you're putting out streaming services, things are going to be fine. Or if you're putting on your beat store, realistically, especially with the loudness wars and all that, how streaming services are handling it, you don't need to worry about your mastering as much as people are going to tell you you do. I've been using this same mastering for almost 6 years with only slight variations, learning a few different things, learning what goes in mastering besides compression and all that. Really, what's on your mastering track, in my opinion, matters very little. But I'm going to show you guys one more run through of the end of this, and then we're going to call it for the day. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned something from this. Leave a comment down below if you want to hear more. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys very much.